Yeah, it's a pleasure for me being here, and I thanks the organization for this invitation. The object of this, of my participation here, is to present you um, the good things that Paraguay has been doing the last 9 or 7 years, specifically in the economic field and regarding also the use of natural resources. Coming from South America, coming from Paraguay, which is in the opposite side of the world, and regarding Korea or Philippines, I was doing some research regarding Philippines, and when I look at the anthem and the hymn of Philippines, I realized that two words are similar than the name of our institute, Lupang Hinirang, which means also Patria Querida. And this is something very touching for me specifically, because it means that we share same values in Philippines and in Paraguay. So the presentation I will show you what was the Paraguay situation years ago, some conflicts related with the distribution of natural resources, specifically land, and partisan politics, and what happens, why we change, where we were at the crossroads. I will show you some indicators regarding our situation, the way towards the national transformation, and the conclusion. So, Dr. Anthony Kim already presented the geographic situation of Paraguay. We are between two huge countries in South America, and I'd like to mention that we are a landlocked country. So this is a burden regarding the exportation of products. Regarding the size of the country, we can compare it with France or Germany. We have the 60% of the size of France, but with a very low population, just 6.5 million of people. So what was the situation 10 years ago? And 10 years ago, the President Duarte Frutos was being urged by a combination of radical, corrupt politicians and businessmen to overturn property rights and expropriate lands for their own benefits. Issues of principle never entered into consideration. When Dr. Moon went to my country, he argued the matter with the President for almost 2 hours. And Dr. Moon told him that expropriating land in this way would do a great damage to Paraguay's future. First, taking the land and simply giving it to the rural poor would not solve the problem of poverty, as the people would have no connection to the national or international economy. This is an extract of the Dr. Moon's book. And I continue citing Dr. Preston Moon. Second, to ignore property rights and seized land would send the wrong message to the international community. Paraguay needs jobs to address its poverty, and jobs require direct foreign investment. So Dr. Moon explained to him what well-functioning democracies stand on a foundation of principles and values. By my own experience in Latin America, I lived and I worked in 6 countries. Lack of consistency in government is a common thing. In Paraguay, policies and even projects would change unpredictably from one administration to the next, creating political uncertainty that in turn increased nation risk. As a result of his mission in Paraguay, a think tank was created, the Instituto de Desarrollo del Pensamiento Patricio Ñada, to provide guidance and recommendations, like policy papers, to the government. And also a GPF chapter was created to strengthen the social capital. The work performed by these two institutions in the country, and specifically in a very important, large state, which is Alto Paraguay, is an example of how we can improve good governance and increase transparency in public administration. The governor, Marlene Campos, was able to draw upon the great depth of knowledge in the Institute for Advice and Support. So these are some of the work that has been done the last 4 years, and the figures are really amazing. They have inaugurated 9 times more works on an infrastructure than the previous governments. This is in the state of Alto Paraguay. As Dr. Moon refers in his book, this was a radical departure from the status quo for Paraguay and created shock waves throughout the country. The Paraguayan media covered the story of the Chaco extensively and what it might mean for Paraguay's future. Then I would like to refer how the presence or the visit of Dr. Moon influenced in the political and leaders of my country. Because later in 2012, Dr. Moon explained to the political leaders and business leaders that if Paraguay was to become a hub for large-scale direct forest investment, to access the entire regional market of Latin America, capitalizing on its natural advantages, then the value proposition of the nation will change exponentially. And this is what we are doing now as a state policy. So where is Paraguay now? Paraguay has sorry, I will approach. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, Paraguay today has the best investment climate in the region. This is from the Getulio Vargas Foundation. Is in the top 5 regional ranking for doing business from the World Bank. Is the second country with the best return of investment in South America, after Peru with 22%. Is a world-class food producer. Will become, and we are working in becoming a logistic hub for the region. We have a very young population. 70% of the country has less than 35 years old. We are creating also a competitive platform for food to the world, products and services for the region. We have a stable, solvent, predictable, and reliable economy. What are the resources we have? As I mentioned, we have a young labor force. We have a good financial forecast. We have a strategic location in the center of South America. We have the lowest tax burden in the region. We have a raw material with quality and lower cost. We have clean electricity with lower cost, which is very important also. We have economic stability and sustainable economic growth. Regarding the taxes, this is something that is attracting a lot of investors from Brazil the last 3 years. We have a 10-10-10 tax distribution. Corporate income tax is 10%, personal income tax is 10%, and VAT is also 10%. And the latest highlights for Paraguay are We have a monetary stability for the past 70 years, for 4.5% GDP growth as an average for the last 10 years. We have the most competitive tax scheme, as I mentioned before. We have reestablished markets and diplomatic agreement after we stand up President Chavez 5 years ago within the Mercosur bloc. Less than 5% of annual inflation for the past 5 years. We have a 60% annual growth in maquila exports. This is outsourcing. We have a growing rate of foreign direct investment. 60% of new investment are coming from Paraguayan capital, which is very important. And application to open new business have tripled the last year. Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot. Okay, I wanted to show you some figures regarding the economic freedom that was already presented by Dr. Anthony Kim, and the economic climate indicator prepared by the Foundation Getulio Vargas, but it was already done. So Paraguay in the world, we are the first renewable energy producer and exporter. We are the second stevia producer. We are the third producer and exporter of yerba mate. We have the third largest fleet, fluvial river fleet in the world. We are the fourth soybean export country. We are the fourth major exporter of soybean oil, the fourth world exporter of yuca starch, the fifth major exporter of soybean expeller, the fifth major exporter of meat, sixth major corn exporter, the sixth major soybean producer in the world, and the 10th major wheat producer in the world. And regarding the financial situation and the investment climate, this is very important, the country risk rating. We were improving, we can see, the different standards from Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch ratings, how we are improving, or we were improving the last 5 years. Regarding the hub to become a hub in logistic for South America, this is the distribution of the investment. You can see that 16.480 billion US dollar are being invested in different areas, in telecommunication, housing, and infrastructure, water and sanitation, electricity, health and education, etc. We are also improving the legal and institutional framework to enhance competitiveness. And I would like to show you some macro sectors with potential. The agro-industrial powerhouse to feed the world. Paraguay can increase 300% its agriculture output with clean technology, with sustainable territorial planning, with sustainable water use through irrigation systems. Okay. And we just became the fifth largest meat exporter. It was predicted by 2020, but we just reached it the last year. So this is what Dr. Moon mentioned to our leaders 5 years ago, to transform Paraguay as a logistic hub, and to export the products to the Asia and Pacific through this corridor, and creating an innovative export waterway through the river Paraguay and Paraná. And I will continue. So my conclusion regarding this, the transformation of Paraguay, and I would like to mention why I think it's important for Korea, and regarding the reunification of the peninsula, is that Seoul needs the experience in lifting a country like Paraguay into economic development and prosperity. The experience that Korean institutions will gain in Paraguay will prove invaluable in developing North Korea in the future. All the sectors addressed in Paraguay to create the social and political stability necessary for growth will also have to be part of North Korea revival. Thank you very much.